The Pope has used his annual Christmas message to appeal for peace in conflict zones including Yemen and Syria. The two countries have both been ravaged by civil war for years, pushing their people into humanitarian crises. My wish for a happy Christmas is a wish for fraternity. Fraternity among individuals of every nation and culture. Pope Francis said on Tuesday. The Pontiff was giving his yearly Urbi et Orbi to the city and to the world address in the Vatican. My thoughts turn to Yemen, in the hope that the truce brokered by the international community may finally bring relief to all those children and people exhausted by war and famine. He said from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, addressing the square below. He also said he hoped the international community would work decisively for a political solution in Syria, a country that is approaching its 8th year of civil war, so that the Syrian people, especially all those who were forced to leave their own lands and seek refuge elsewhere, can return to life in peace in their own country. He added, the answers, more than 6 million civilians have been displaced there since the war there began. His address also alluded to worldwide tensions over migration, saying that God wanted of acceptance, respect, throughout all humanity. Our differences, then, are not a detriment or a danger, they are a source of riches, he said. Pope Francis revealed his hope for renewed talks between the Israelis and Palestinians to undertake a journey of peace that can put an end to a conflict that for over 70 years have lacerated the land chosen by the Lord to show his face of love. James Reynolds, BBC News in Rome. On Christmas Day, a pope can enjoy the luxury of the world's stage, largely to himself. At midday, Vatican bands heralded Francis' entrance onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The Pope addressed the pilgrims and tourists in the square below, turning the pages of his speech, careful in, as he called, for the resolution of many of the world's conflicts. He also sent a message to minority Christian communities who are living in what he called hostile situations. In order to reinforce this thought, Francis has sent his Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, to Iraq to hold festive services with that country's small Christian population. The traditional Christmas address is a short breather from some of the problems facing the Pope this year. He has been criticized for his failure to understand the scope of the clerical sexual abuse crisis. Francis has called bishops from around the world to Rome in February 2019 to discuss how the church might respond. The 82-year-old is the first pope from Latin America, a region he also referenced in his annual address, calling for political reconciliation in Nicaragua and Venezuela. The Pontiff also referenced Ukraine, as well as the millions of people displaced in Africa. The address comes one day after Pope Francis' traditional Christmas Eve message, in which he condemned the huge divide between the world's rich and poor. In his homily, Pope Francis said the birth of Christ pointed to a new way to life, not by devouring and hoarding, but by sharing and giving. He continued, let us ask ourselves, do I really need all these material objects and complicated recipes for living? Can I manage without all these unnecessary extras and live a life of greater simplicity? The Pope has made highlighting the plight of the poor a key theme of his papacy. A popular tourist attraction has become the latest Chinese company to show solidarity with Huawei's chief finance officer, Meng Wanzhou, who was arrested in Canada on 1 December. Shannon Mountain Scenic Park, in eastern Hainan province said it would waive the $9.65 ticket fee for anyone carrying a Huawei phone. Ms. Man, who was given bail in Canada, faces extradition to the United States on charges of breaking Iran sanctions. Her case has upped tensions with China. Use Huawei phones. Shoot grand photos on the mountain. A notice on the Shannon Park's social media account said, "We wish friends around the world who support Huawei's success and bliss." The offer would last until 29 December, the South China Morning Post reported. But it was met with some criticism among China's social media users, who claimed it was discriminatory. Huawei phone owners are being offered other enticements too. They can get a 20% discount at a bar in Beijing. Seen in Beijing, bring a Huawei phone and get 20% off. Similar to this story we covered yesterday, https://QXL19YPQLPIC. Twitter.com Sokolov. End of Twitter post by @LuOceanG. At least one firm has threatened to penalize anyone buying Apple products. A few days ago, Manpad Shenzhen-based LED and display manufacturer offered subsidies to any employees buying Huawei phones. It also pledged to fine anyone who bought an Apple iPhone. United States prosecutors alleged Ms. Man, 46, used a Huawei subsidiary called Skycom to evade sanctions on Iran between 2009 and 2014. They also allege she publicly misrepresented Skycom as being a separate company from Huawei, and that she deceived banks about the true relationship between the two companies. Ms. Man, who is the daughter of Huawei's founder, has denied any wrongdoing and said she will contest the allegations. Life of Huawei's high-flying errors. The United States has been investigating the Chinese telecoms giant, the world's second-largest smartphone maker, since 2016, believing that it used Skycom to bring United States manufacturing equipment and millions of dollars in transactions to Iran in violation of sanctions. Ms. Man's detention comes amid an increasingly acrimonious trade dispute between Washington and Beijing. China is angry at her detention, saying she has not violated any laws. Beijing has threatened severe consequences unless Canada releases the executive. Since her arrest, 2 Canadians, a former diplomat and a businessman, have been detained in China on suspicion of harming national security. United States President Donald Trump said last week that he might intervene in the United States Justice Department's case against Ms. Man if it would serve national security interests. I'll help achieve a trade deal with China if I think it's good for what will be certainly the largest trade deal ever made, which is a very important thing. What's good for national security? I would certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary, he told Reuters news agency. Canada reacted by urging Mr. Trump not to politicize the situation. Our extradition partners should not seek to politicize the extradition process or use it for ends other than the pursuit of justice, Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland said. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 40 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia, since it and Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government, the United States military said. Alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing Al-Shabaab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia, the United States Africa Command said. Al-Shabaab, which is linked to Al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes. Somalia-based security think tank the Higher Institute said in a report published in November that Al-Shabaab had been forced to change tactics following the upsurge in airstrikes. The institute said the group was now conducting fewer mass attacks on military bases.